All right, we're live, not live, but we're here with a very special guest for an episode of the Rock Fantasy Files and Marko Tervonen. I didn't pronounce it correctly, from The Crown. And we're here to talk about The Crown in general, but the new record is Royal Destroyer. Could you tell me about a little bit about that? I'm excited to hear. I've heard saw the video and heard the single so far, so looking forward to that.
It's I think that if you're familiar with the previous album, Corpus Speed Venom, you will sort of feel that it's a continuation of it, because that album we sort of realized a lot of things, how to make an album, how to work in the studio, and a bit going back to old school way of doing. And we continue with that sort of attitude on Royal Destroyer, that yeah, we're not gonna spend 5 weeks in the studio and analyze everything. We're going in, we're gonna nail the takes, first or second take, and not go in there and edit stuff. So what you hear on the album is basically a bit of the same approach we had on Corpus Speed Venom, that we want you to hear actual performances and humans actually playing. So what you hear is basically take one or take two on every song. And in the end, we managed to actually record everything, including vocals and leads and all that, in 6 days. So,
wow.
So that's, we realized once again with the previous album that it adds so much energy and feel and something realness to it. And we just continued. We were in a pretty good headspace after Cobra, because the feedback was so awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people even consider it like almost like a comeback album in a way. So yeah,
that's Cobra Speed. Yeah,
good album for us, that where we finally managed to prove again that we can fucking kick ass. So so we're sort of continuing on with those good vibes, and we wrote Royal Destroyer, and yeah, we're really proud of it.
I guess that kind of answers my second question, because my second one was, how does the new record differ from your last record, Cobra Speed Venom? And you just pretty much answered that. And
yeah, I think it differs like it usually does. That we obviously have an own style. We've been doing this now for incredible 30 years, and we have a style, but we also have a wish and a desire to try to push it forward all the time. So for every album, there's always a couple of tracks, or something is different, something is new, so
yeah.
It's not like we have a recipe that let's go in and write 10 of those Motor Death tracks. It's not so interesting, and so we really try to be a bit everywhere. We have pretty mellow stuff as well on the album. We have a song that is basically a ballad. I mean, so that's gonna freak people out. So that's awesome. And then we have the fucking super over-the-top death metal songs as well. So yeah, it's gonna be great to hear the feedback.
And when is that actually being released? I mean, we're here in the United States. What is the release date for that? I should have brushed up on that, but I didn't this morning.
Yeah, it will be released globally March 12th.
Oh, excellent. So something to look forward to coming up. So with the music world on its ear and upside down due to this pandemic and the virus, what are you guys doing differently to promote the new record, since live touring right now is not possible in most countries? I know I heard that Enslaved did a small tour in Norway, which I was surprised at. And of course, the United States, there's not much going on at all with music. In the state of Florida, a little bit there is, but other than that, it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. There's nothing going on here. It's and it's basically impossible to plan anything. So we don't have a single show planned. So we are trying to come up with something that is like not equally good, but we hope to do something that is interesting. So we are looking into the sort of what we can do with the streaming media and stuff like that. So
yes,
I think that we need to be a bit creative there, because yeah, you can either sort of fake a live show, but I've seen a couple of those, and you don't really get the feel, because usually the best type of concerts is, of course, when you see the interaction from audience, and that is possible here. So I don't know, but we have some ideas, and let's see what we can come up with, because it is so fucked up, because
yes,
the original, you know, the original plan we had for Royal Destroyer was that it would have actually been released last year, because last year we celebrated 30 years and we had a lot of plans that, yeah, let's make amazing shows and play songs through all the albums, and let's play for fucking 3 hours and record everything. But and then, you know, the world turned upside down, and
yeah, that was actually one of my questions today. 2020 was the 20th anniversary of Death Race King, and one of the greatest metal albums, in my opinion, of all time. And with 2020 being such a horrible year, that's what my question was: were there any original plans to celebrate the release of that album or revisit it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we would have done something with it. We could have easily done like a Death Race thing as well, and yeah, as we all know. But the only good thing is that we are all sort of globally in the same shit, so you don't need to explain to people why you're not playing, because
exactly, you know, exactly. It's
hopefully like this year, if we can play like later this year. I mean,
fingers
I think
crossed.
people understand if we will make like a 30-year-old show when it's actually the 31st year show, you know, because we're all in the same boat, you know.
Stranger things have happened. I remember the Who was celebrating an anniversary a few years ago, and then one of them got sick or something, and then they came back like the year later, and I said, well, it's a continuation of this tour. And
all right.
So yeah, I watched quite a few of the live streams, and I get that what you're coming across, but I've kind of gotten used to enjoying and trying to support the bands. I rented the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm good friends with Chris Caffrey from Sabotage, and I rented the Destruction one. I rented the Goat Whore. The Goat Whore one was really good. And I mean, they were all really good. It was just, you know, it's so weird, you know, me popping open a beverage in my living room, watching in front of the fireplace, watching a show. I guess the only safe thing is I didn't have to drive home. But definitely.
It's better than not seeing anything at all, of course. So
yeah, exactly. I know I watched the Catatonia one they did over the summer too.
Yeah, I actually also bought my first sort of online streaming ticket. I saw the Paradise Lost live show. That was one of my favorite. Yeah. I think people eventually will sort of understand that. Yeah, this fucking thing will, I mean, keep on going for a while. So
yeah, unfortunately,
and experience some shows. That's the streaming stuff is, yeah, it's a good plan B.
So if someone's watching this for the first time and not aware of the Crown, how would you describe the band, the Crown? What kind of music? What's your message and whatever else, you know?
I would say that we're a band that are sort of have our roots in death metal, but during the years we're basically a bit all over the place musically, but we always really go for the approach that it needs to be genuine. All those stuff we sort of blend in, even if some rock and roll stuff or some melodic stuff, it needs to feel real for us. So we're not afraid to try out different stuff, but we are rooted in the death metal. That I mean, we have the high speed stuff, but we can also go basically everywhere. And yeah, I would say that sometimes people say that what album would you recommend to start with? And one of my favorites is, I agree, Death Race King turned out to be one hell of an album. I'm really proud of it. And I think that with the album before Hell Is Here, that was the first time we started to incorporate with maybe the rock and roll stuff and, you know, getting a bit of death and roll. And we continue with that on Death Race King and basically nailed it. It was a really good thing. But yeah, if you're a new guy, pick a couple of albums and be prepared that it's not written with a special formula or recipe. You know, it's we are a bit all over the place, but
and some of the fastest stuff too. You've got some really. You're going to get a speeding ticket if you put this on in the car and you're driving down the interstate. Yeah. Of course, with songs, you know, the album and the titles of Death Race King is just perfect for racing, going fast. And what maybe, you know, what do you remember about the last gig of the tour that you guys were doing before this hell hit us of the virus? What last gig or whatever, what you guys were doing before this happened?
Yeah, we managed to do some shows for the Cobra Speed Venom. We did a bit shorter European tour, and what was maybe most amazing for us that we still today managed to play in countries we never visited before. So we managed to go to Croatia and Russia. That was
oh wow,
yeah, that was totally amazing. And so I can't really remember exactly what was the last show, but I mean, I remember when the sort of Cobra cycle ended, we just started focusing on the Royal Destroyer stuff. And we have discussed maybe, so how can we do a couple of shows maybe here and there, and then all shit hit the fan. And
yeah, that was, yeah, it seems like we've been in this forever now. We're going on almost a year here. I'm talking to you here on January 22nd, and what was it, March, when we got this lockdown. It's starting to just seem so weird. That last show I actually saw was in New York City at the Apollo Theater, which is a weird venue for a metal show, but I saw Opeth with Graveyard.
All right.
That's my last show so far. I haven't even seen a guy, you know, anything live at all. You know, some of the breweries and stuff around here during the summer months would have a band outside or something, but other than that, nothing going on.
It's so weird. It's let's see what happens now. They're starting to roll out the vaccine, but
yes,
I don't think that it's gonna save everything. But this shit will be here at least the end of summer.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. Now, in 2015, Dead is Not Dead. Whose idea was it to incorporate the pinball art? Because I'm a big pinball head. My store's I've got 100 pinball machines. My store's got 35 games. And everybody from my pinball community was popping. It's like, hey, you want to hear this metal band? You got to check these guys out, you know? And they've got all the classic pinball. And actually, the album art is different than the CD booklet. The CD booklet has some different games behind you. So it was a couple different shots. So I thought it was very cool because pinball, like, is very rock and roll. There's a million games coming out now that are based on classic rock and metal bands too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as you said, I mean, pinballs, they're fucking cool, and they sort of represent something. It's not like a modern PlayStation game. There's something about it, and when we decided to go for that sort of the cover theme that is so different from what we've done before, it was like, why not go all the way? And luckily, a friend of us knew a guy that had this pinball hall, and we just went there and took a lot of pictures, and they turned out pretty cool and absolutely very different. I mean, if you look at the cover and the picture, you can't even guess it's a death metal band. You know, it's it's on the edge of I don't know. So it's a different thing, but it's really cool. And also on the cover, you know, we messed around with it. I mean, insert coin is like insert soul, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, you've got the flippers, and it's like a pinball machine for sure. Death is Not Dead. And then on the back, you've got the ramps for the ball going through and everything. Yeah, it's so cool. Pinball from Hell, yeah. I know that, you know, some guys
design a pinball like that, pinball game. So that would be great.
I know the vocalist from Sabaton actually plays in some of the tournaments over there and whatnot. That's why I was wondering if there was a connection with one of you guys with the pinball. I hadn't had a collection in the house of some of the people you know, in bands I know have some of that going on. So cool. The Crown recorded Crowned in Terror in 2002 with Thomas Lindberg instead of Johan. Then you re-recorded the songs again with Johan on vocals and released that as Crowned Unholy in 2004. In March 2007, Johan said it was for diehard fans who have all the albums with the original singer. So in 2010, the Crown released Doomsday King LP with Jonas Stahlheimer on vocals. Have you ever thought of re-recording those songs with Johan on vocals too?
that will never happen.
That's a question. Actually,
yeah, I know the whole sort of Crown in Terror, Crown Unholy thing. I remember when we did it, it made so much sense that it's so cool to whatever we have the opportunity to sort of redo the vocals and let's have all the albums with Johan. But I think we all in the band agree that we shouldn't have done it. It's
okay.
I don't know, when you get a bit distance to it. I mean, for me, honestly, I mean, I love a lot of old metal bands that have whatever shitty productions, but seriously, even though if they would re-record it, I would always prefer the original. So,
okay.
I think it's a matter of perspective, but to be honest, I regret that re-recording.
Okay, that's a great answer. Actually, a good friend of mine, I was telling him that I was interviewing you, and that was a question that he made up. My friend Chris Allo, that worked for a lot of the magazines when we had heavy metal magazines. Remember back in the day. So, I guess, what is an album that changed your life, or a band maybe and maybe how you got started into playing music and then into metal? Could we go back into those days and pick an album that you heard or like an album that changed your life is my question. And I guess it's a two-sided question because also, how did you get started?
For me, I had a couple of friends that were maybe 2 years older than me, and they got me into very sort of melodic rock stuff like Scorpions.
Okay.
I have a sweet spot still today for Scorpions.
So do I.
So it sort of started there, and I remember I never liked Kiss. My friends always liked Kiss. I never got into it.
Okay.
Maybe a few songs, but it didn't really. Of course, the sort of visually it was always amazing, but in my opinion, that when I saw it visually and then heard the music, it didn't fit.
Okay.
So, I don't know. So, but it was just me. But from Scorpions later on, I started to enjoy like Halloween, still very melodic stuff. And later on, I got introduced to like Metallica and started to get a bit more serious or heavier. And then I have this memory of that. There was a friend of mine that back in the days, he was one of the few that had access to like MTV.
Oh.
And I think he was like the only one, he lived a bit away from where I was, and he used to tape all the European Headbangers Ball shows.
Okay.
So you had the guy, what they call Ricky
Rackman, it was, I think, right?
We had Vanessa Warwick that did European ones, and
okay.
So she's so important to not only me, but for a lot of Europeans to sort of develop the taste for brutal stuff, because there were some stories she did. I remember when Sepultura released Beneath the Remains, she did a thing on that, and during that show she played a lot of like metal, and it became more and more an extreme, and then the death metal boom came with the Entombs and Morbid Angels and all of that.
Yes.
So and when I got into that, it was like I stopped listening to like more normal music. It was only death metal, and for a lot of years. And so that was the sort of my journey there. But guitar-wise, it was like I started playing very, very young, and also a bit same thing there. I had a friend that was a few years older, and he started to learn me, how to do some riffs and stuff like that. And this is a really pretty cool thing. I tell it quite often. There's a lot of people that many times ask that, how many so great bands from Sweden come in? But there's actually, I've realized there's a good answer to it, why it is like that. Because in Sweden, it's pretty unique. I don't know if you heard of it, but sort of the government and the communities, they pay for rehearsal rooms and for equipment so that kids can play.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, if you have an interest in playing guitar or drums or whatever, they sort of find you and they tell you that, Yeah, we have free rehearsal places with equipment, and if you have some friends, go there and play. And the thing is, like 90% of all bands in Sweden around my age, that's the journey they have gone. They have all started playing at this sort of what's it called, youth centers.
Yeah, so it's kind of like school.
Basically, but it's outside of school.
Florida, almost, yeah.
It's basically like a thing that happens after school hours to keep from doing bad stuff, you know. So some of the kids like sport, but some of us, we wanted to play. And I mean, we were really, really young when we started playing, even in the Crown. We were like 14, 15 years. No. And I think we were up until 18 or 19, and we still played at this youth center equipment and stuff like that. I think that the first 2 albums we did, I don't think even Janne owned his own drum set, you know. So there's a lot of good things in that sort of way that Sweden handles those bands. But I know like bands like Entune and all of that, they all started that way.
And that's very interesting. That's something we really don't have here in the United States, for sure.
Yeah.
I was aware of some of that in Sweden, of course, over the years. So many great bands come from Sweden. I mean, I'm into the melodic, like death metal stuff a lot, and the European metal. So getting an interview with you today was an honor to get you on the show. And you know, I listen to a lot of the Norwegian and the Finnish bands too, of course, and just that whole area to me is like, I've never been over there, but it's a hotbed for my releases and stuff that come out, you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I guess anything you want to finish up with today about the Roll Destroyer? What you have a video out now on YouTube and on social media, and what's the first title track on that?
The first video, it's called it's called More to Death.
That's right. Yep.
It's one hell of a thrashing song, and we're actually gonna release a second video now in mid-February, and we have some hopes to surprise a bit with it, because we are going a bit against our standard stuff with it. So we sort of realized it's a challenge to surprise people with a brutal song nowadays. So we're actually gonna go with the opposite direction and see if we can surprise people with a pretty mellow song, actually. So let's see. Let the shitstorm begin after that single.
I know. I was watching a video that Moonspell just released, and it was really mellow. And Moonspell does a lot of very mellow stuff at times, but it was a very mellow release from them, but very good song. What now? How do we find viewers that are watching this show? How do we find the Crown on the web and all that kind of stuff? If they want to, you have a web store where they could buy a T-shirt or buy some merchandise or something to help support bands. I've been preaching this all along since I've started my show during the pandemic. Reach out and support these bands. Buy a stream if they're doing it. Buy some records. Buy some shirts directly on it. A little bit helps, you know, right now.
Yeah, thank you for that, for helping bands. And for us, I think what we feel closest to is our Facebook group. If you search for The Crown Official, you will find it. And we run it by ourselves, so it's not like we have a guy doing it. We do it by ourselves, and we really like, because it gives us a good opportunity to interact with the people that actually care. So we do a lot of special stuff, like whatever contests, and I do a lot of like guitar playthroughs. I think I've done maybe 25 of those. I maybe tell a little silly anecdote, and then I, play the song, and we try to keep it very personal. And obviously Metal Blade has the Crown stuff there for the stores, and
true.
But I think that if people are interested, check out the Crown Official on Facebook, because
excellent.
We try to keep it personal there.
And anything you want to wrap up with today? I guess we're I've got most of my questions covered that I can think of. I mean, of course, I had a good friend of mine said, I asked them when they're coming back to the States. I said, well, how can you ask a band anything like that now? And you know, he's a big fan. He got to see you guys back in the 2000s when you were over here. And I was actually talking with Robin Mason, who you probably know well. She was mentioning a show you played at L'Amour's, and I forget the other bands that were on the bill now. We were talking last night, and how Bjork bought a
Darkest Hour. Was it Darkest Hour?
Yeah, I don't know. It was at L'Amour's, she said. Yeah. But she said that Bjork, she said to mention that to you. Bjork came up and bought a T-shirt at the merch booth. Robin was selling shirts for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. It is the sad thing. We can't fucking plan anything, and unfortunately, even the US tours and stuff like that, it has been really complicated because due to the work permits and stuff like that, they cost so fucking much, and it has been a challenge to sort of try to make it work.
Yeah, and, yeah.
I know that we've been talking with the guys that run the what's it called, the 70,000 ton metal boats.
Yes, that would be awesome.
That's a pretty cool, because then you can actually avoid the working visas because you play on international water.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that some of the European bands will come over and do that, and if they do get the permits, then do a tour of the States also combined with that.
Yeah. So it's just the basic fact is, well, now that it's completely fucked up everywhere, but generally going to the States, it costs a lot of money, and you need to have good people to work with and make it work and do a professional thing. And so there's a lot of factors, but we've been there, done, twice, done very extensive tours, but that was so many years ago, so it feels like forever. So let's see what happens now with Bernie.
Of course. Yeah. Of course, we would love to have you come back to the States when things get normal. And the show Robin was mentioning, I had it written down from last night. You were on the road with Cannibal Corpse and Christian.
Oh yeah, that tour. Yeah. That was our first US tour. That was fucking amazing. Also, Nile was on the bill.
Oh, Nile too. Okay, great. Yeah. That's a solid lineup right there, man.
Yeah, that was amazing. Talk about an introduction to US. That was amazing for us. That was totally amazing.
Well, it's been an honor to have you on the show today, and I hope that you stay safe and we get a productive 2021, even if it's in the second quarter and all that stuff. And if you like my channel, Rock Fantasy Files, please take a second and hit subscribe, and maybe some comments in the feed in the live feed, and hit like and talk about your moments with the Crown and questions that you would have asked Marko and stuff like that. And hopefully he'll take a gander in and look at the video as we get it up. It'll probably go up over the weekend or on Monday. So thanks for joining me, Marko, and thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, man. Take care, stay safe, stay sane.
Yes.